All the studies I have done on location, my plein air paintings all contribute to this painting because I have these, I would say, notes and structures sort of ingrained in painting seascapes. And I like it to be a little more abstractive so it doesn't say it all, so that it involves you, the viewer, to appreciate some of what you see in it and allow you to imagine within the piece. So ultimately, my desire is to have it less rendered and be something that you can enjoy over a long period of time. And so often I may actually leave it as simple as this, but when it dries it may feel a little flat in areas, and sometimes with landscapes and things that are in motion, it is nice to exaggerate depth. And I can show you how I would do that, and it would be either making things darker to go into things up close, or I would soften in the horizon out with a graying and a veiling and a lighter application, like lighter tones, white, grays, purples. I took a picture of it on my iPhone, and then I have this little app, it's called Value Viewer, which shows me the no-tan structure of the piece. You can do this on Photoshop with a number of filters, but this little one push of a button, I can test what it looks like in color, in gray, in the no tan, and in the levels of black, gray, and white. And when I study these, then it tells me that it has an interesting composition. I do have an unequal number of the various values, which is usually desirable. And so this could be a completed piece, you know, according to some rules. Yes?
Could you explain the word no-tan?
Yeah, oh, okay, good question. It's just a black and white structure that is based on a Japanese term meaning the white and dark balance. So what is that balance in the piece? And color has its own value, but at some point is the value going to be the light part or the dark part? And it's somewhat intuitive. You can actually, on the app, tweak it to, I don't know if you can see that. So I have this no tan in black, and then I can, I have a no tan, yeah.
Too small to see.
Yeah, so I can actually make it go darker and lighter. There it goes, see? And so it's got, you know, it's the program that dictated what that structure was, but I can see within the range it has an interesting dark form. I was going to darken that, so why don't I just start with something as simple as that? And these are the most easy things to start painting over again. Like, I'm almost scared to touch this because it was kind of fun to express, and now these are the times when it takes 2 or 3 days to finish this piece. And every mark that's being made, I'm turning it upside down for a reason, every mark that's being made is going to matter. So I'll just add a few, but I think I'll just make this darker, like I said, meaning...
Move it forward a tiny bit because we're losing the
Okay.
plate. Good.
Thank you. So these are drying up too. And notice I use mostly sort of these filbert brushes. This brush would not, it's a pointy brush. That made good, it's a bit too soft too. So this would have been good to start with, it's a bit too soft. But these are almost like flat brushes. So because I have white on here, I'm gonna do a bit of this white wave first before I do this dark blue. And I'm just doing it upside down because it just takes me away from the image. I've seen the image too much the other way. So I'm just adding these little lines. So that shape may or may not be interesting, I'm not sure yet. Just carrying the white. That's good, like that. So now I can kind of, so just thicker paint in some areas. And notice I turned the brush there because I had more paint on the other side, so it may not cover it all the way across. And that white is not good there, I don't like it. So upside down and that's a sort of semi-transparent dry brush, you know, that really the type of application I want? Probably not.
You wouldn't wash that thing that you don't like with water?
This right here, it
Uh-huh.
won't come off. That's why I tested it.
Oh,
Yeah, so water I do not like to put on because it will disrupt now the way the paint dries. So I just either lift while it will scrape off, and same with oils, I scrape off. So I don't like to add water at this stage. Oh, that's a good question, technical question. I prefer to wipe it off. So, you know, I could have a moist cloth. I like that. So let's say I put it here, and I don't like that, so I can try to lift it up. So this purple I'm just carrying because I like this little bit of purple, softening some of the purple here. Like this is a strong shape, so I can just soften some part of that shape. See? So there's a strong, I like this little strong bit here, and then this was just a bit softer. Softened it up, just putting a little bit more paint over it. Okay. This is quite strong. I don't know what that's doing yet. Let's just get a nice glue. Here's my line work, and I'm going to soften that. So if I place it in one place, I'm going to just, this is a new color. So it's phthalo blue, fairly pure. So I'm actually, because it stood out on its own, I have to be careful with it's I'm carrying it through for unifying, and then some of these lines I'm going to soften. So let's take this glue up here. It's on my brush. And now I'm going to mix this glue. I know it's cobalt. I can see it here, right? Pretty close. And this is a thicker application of paint. So it has a bit of white because I like the value of this. I like the light blue. It's light blue because it's very thin paint on white canvas. So the white of the canvas is reflecting through. I like the transparency. But I think I'd like to make this transparent and support it with an opaque. So this is why I'm putting this color down here. We'll see how it works. It may not be quite what I... So there's the, there's the color fairly similar. I can put a bit of phthalo in it, yeah. So that's where I find I'm pleased with being able to have practice color mixing. Just these colors, limited palette more or less. And I should be able to come back and get that color again. And that takes practice. So I'd advise anybody to get familiar with the limited palettes and use them for a while. It's always a nice thing to try. And the question is, do I want a hard edge anywhere here? Hard to say. So I'll turn it back around.
you don't mind that white dot there?
No, I don't. I don't because it's a funny watermark, and it could be out of place because it's an acrylic, and those are in watercolor. Where else is it? That's why I tried to render something to echo it. It could be taking away from the complement. These two are the same size, so
Right.
That's already something that is in conflict. And conflict is good in a piece. It's like a drama, right? Without any kind of high point or something not quite right. But which one should be bigger? Well, I'm not going to change. I'm not going to fuss with that. I'm going to either cover it, which I'm not yet because I kind of it was inspiring to me for the piece, and that's why I did this little. Maybe I'll make a bigger one here. So that's opaque, phthalo blue with white. So it didn't work as a circle there, so I'll just carry it on as little dots. So this is where my line is coming out, like that line. Just a few little gestures of line. I don't want to overdo it.
Is the yellow part still part of the sky, or
This part here.
the yellow below the blue? Or,
Big cloud.
So I don't know what it is yet. I
Oh,
don't
I
think
see.
about.
Oh, okay.
So that's interesting. Yes, at some point I'll say, well, is it going to be confusing for people? If it's abstract, I don't mind because I want it to be more about the painting process and the expression in an abstract. So there's that fine line when it has a rendering of something recognizable. Those are tough things to consider. It's a personal taste. So somebody may do that and take it out, and somebody else would leave it in. So it's never a clear-cut answer to that one. I just like this color, so I'm going to build some more color over this because this was a bit too thin here. It's one layer, so it's the same color, so it shouldn't interfere too much. This is not very good there. Ideally, I should take a. So this should have right back to horizontals and verticals. See the application? There's some vertical or diagonal. So diagonals have motion in them, so that's something to consider as well. I can actually paint with this little brush too. But that's not a so maybe some little dots.
Did you learn this abstract on your own, or is it a course that you take up?
So abstraction, that's interesting. So I don't know if you can teach abstraction because
Or the way you're painting right now, like is
it's how I've taught myself to paint.
okay.
So yeah, there may be some. I may be making some things more difficult for myself. Maybe not planning as much ahead or whatever, but that can, for me, I am already sort of done with the composition if I've played it out on another medium. So I'd rather let it build through the painting and let each mark then weigh out against the others. And I think I've learned how to then compose better because of that struggle. It becomes very tiring to do that. It's like, does it work, doesn't it? And I'm going to ruin it with one brush stroke at some point, and I'll have to come back and at least fix it. But it's better again to leave it. I don't know if that's. I'm trying to balance that purple up there, just over this yellow. Now that my eye went there, I didn't like that, so I'm going to cover that. Let's go back to the underpainting, like I did in the last painting with a little bit of pink, just to sort of add a difference to the water and lay that in as a background color. So I'll just put that in here. It's quite strong.